Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/49 County News TV.
Jason, on our pledge of allegiance. Tracy, could I ask you to do the invocation tonight?
They are. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this opportunity to gather, that this council and mayor can conduct the business of this great city. I just pray, Lord, you'll give them your wisdom and help them to make the decisions that are best interest of the people that call Hamilton home. Lord, we thank you for this country. We ask right now, Lord, you bless our president, the members of Congress, all the leaders that are elected to office. Lord, give them your wisdom and give them the courage to act on that wisdom. Bless this city in any way you choose to do so, Lord God. We ask in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. In Christ's name, amen.
Let's face the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Want to welcome our guests tonight who've come, and we thank you for joining us at this meeting. We have our newly elected representative for our area, Mr. Tracy Estes, with us tonight. We're proud to see you, Tracy.
Good to be here.
I told Tracy earlier that he's the only man I know that can be two places at once. You look around and he'll be over there and he'll be over there. But he's really working hard as a newly elected official, getting his feet on the ground. We're proud of you, Tracy.
Appreciate it.
And we thank you for what you're going to do for this area as our representative.
Like I told you, everybody, most everybody in this room has my number, and those that don't are welcome to it. And I'll help Hamilton any way I can. Feel free to call me, and we'll get to work.
Thank you. Good job. Want to make a couple of announcements tonight before we get started. Had a letter this week from the Highway Department granting Grandview Bridge, the contractors at Grandview Bridge, a delay in their contract. They're being allowed to have some extra days. The girders for this bridge have not been delivered, and the contractor's having a hard time getting delivery on these girders, and he's pled with the Alabama DOT for some extra time. Hopefully this won't be a long time in coming, but I got a letter that he's been granted some extra days to complete this job that's ongoing. So our article in the paper that ran was just prior to the receipt of this letter, so we may be a few extra days on that, Scott, and I want to take public notice tonight. We're trying to get some bids on Smoky Bear Road for paving, asphalt paving. So far, we've been able to get one bid. Is that correct, Mike?
That's right, yes.
And you're trying to get at least two more bids turned in?
Yes.
To bring before the council, okay. We're trying to get some real paving done on that road. It's been washed into a couple of times and dug into several times, so it's real rough, and it feeds into our recreation area and our elementary school, and we just need to get it fixed, and we're trying to get those bids. And I think everything else on my list of announcements we'll keep for right now. So we need to get into the meeting. So our first recommendation would be to approve the minutes of the August 20th, 2018 meeting. That'd be the motion for that.
I'll make the motion.
Gene made a motion. We approve those minutes. Need a second?
I'll second.
Kenneth made a second. All in favor of approving the minutes? Thank you. Item number 2 on our agenda tonight is the approval of our accounts payable for the month of August, and we'll need a motion to approve our bills payable.
I'll make the vote.
Herb made the motion, we need a second.
Second.
Kenneth made the second. All in favor of paying our August bills? Certainly none opposed. Thank you. Okay, the third item on our list tonight, our agenda, would be the presentation of our annual gift to the schools. I believe we have representatives from the middle school, elementary, and high school here. Is that correct? Okay. Angela, if you could make our presentations known tonight, I'd appreciate it.
Oh, we, y'all want to step forward?
Go ahead, Lex.
I'll kind of explain what we've done. The city, agreed to give the $135,000 to the schools. And I know there was a concern over making sure the teachers would each get a portion of that. So Tammy helped me. She came up with some numbers for me for the teachers. So what we're going to do is present like 2 checks to the school, and I'll kind of explain it. For the elementary school, I have a total of like 47 teachers. So that's $200 apiece. That comes to $9,400 to put in their teacher fund. And well, let me back up a little bit. When I take what we're going to take from the $135,000 to give to each teacher, that's going to leave a balance of $114,000 that we'll divide evenly between the 3, which means each school will get $38,000 apiece. Am I correct on how you broke that down? So the elementary school will get $9,400 for the teachers, and you'll get $38,000 for the school.
Thank you very much. Thank you from the teachers.
I know, they'll appreciate that. So the middle school, I did the same with them, and I had a total of 27
That's great.
teachers. So that's $5,400 for the teachers account, and $38,000 for the school. Well, all I did was write the checks. You got to thank me on that. So for the high school, I had a total of 31 teachers, so that's $6,200 for them, and you're $38,000. You're welcome.
And on behalf of the Hamilton schools, we appreciate what the city council's done for our kids. This goes a long way in helping our students, and we certainly appreciate you guys and what you've done. Thank you.
And those numbers are the numbers that were sent to me
Yes,
and
ma'am.
you, so
Yes.
that's where they came from.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
so
Thank
those were
you.
those numbers. There is at least one teacher that is shared between the elementary school and the middle school. So y'all will need to decide if you're going to do half at one school and half at the other school, but you'll need to work that out. But that's where those numbers, they're your numbers. So
That's not a problem. That's
Yeah.
not a problem.
But I would like for everybody to know, the ordinance does read that the Hamilton school disbursement may only be used for obtaining classroom, educational, and instructional materials, equipment, and supplies, equipment necessary for classroom education or extensions of classroom coursework, and to provide educational experiences for the students. The Hamilton school disbursement may not be used for maintenance except for maintenance and classroom equipment used for instructional purposes. It cannot be used for athletics or other extracurricular activities, janitorial, housekeeping, and lunchroom supplies, or equipment, salaries, supplements, or wages. So it says you won't get another check until next year, but I would like for y'all to come back after the first of the year and just give us an idea of, what your plans are or how you've spent the money or what's going on, so the people will know how their tax money is being spent and what it's being used for.
Yes, ma'am.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. Okay. Moving forward, item 11 pertains to Retail Strategies, which we have a contract with, and their CEO, Mr. Jolly, and also Scott Buchanan are here tonight, and I'm going to give them just a little bit of time. We're going to take them out of order tonight. Mr. Jolly has travel plans he has to meet later, and needs to get back to the city. So we're gonna let you guys come and talk to us a little bit about your company at this time.
Good evening, thank you all for your time. This evening, again, let y'all know me now, it's Robert, our CEO and owner, and about a year ago, we struck a partnership with the City of Hamilton, speaking with the mayor and several council members regarding their wishes to grow this community. We specialize in partnering with cities across the country, specifically the Southeast, and helping grow their retail base, and that's really our background and what we do. And so we're 1 year into our 3-year partnership, and understand we're coming into our second installment, and just wanted an opportunity to answer any objections that anyone from the council might have, concerns about what we've done. I know about 3 weeks ago we came up and briefly presented during a work session, and kind of gave a recap of our efforts, but I did have some literature that I wanted to share tonight regarding some of the actions we've taken on behalf of this community. We did set out a list of items that we were to achieve in our first year in Hamilton, and I feel very confident we've done that. We've been very successful within our first 12 months, and I obviously want to continue our partnership with a lot of coals in the fire. But I did want to open it up. Again, I have some items here to share. One is a recommendation letter from a national retailer that we've been working with, coming to here in Hamilton. It's Building Construction, just recommending our partnership with communities. I also have a recap from one of many conferences that we attend. We briefly went over this during our work session. But again, I know there was another work session with some other questions about, again, I'm sorry. And if you look through that, it outlines specific meetings that we have conducted on behalf of Hamilton. This is the annual retail show at Las Vegas, which we attended on behalf of this city in May of 2018. So that recaps specific meetings that we had with specific retailers regarding trying to sell Hamilton to them. We have grayed out some of the names for confidentiality reasons, obviously, but you get an idea of our effort. We sent a team of 35 individuals to this show, to this 3-day show, and had about 350 meetings on behalf of our clients. So a lot of work goes into these conferences that we attend. And then I also have several specific emails to specific retailers with me today, really showing our work, who we've talked to, where we are in those conversations, and I'll be glad to share some of those. But again, I know there have been some talk about our work, and we're really just more here to hear from you guys what feedback you have for us, and we'd love to respond to any of it tonight.
We appreciate y'all coming tonight, and certainly I'd like to open it up now for any comments or questions from our council that might be on your minds. Of course, I've had some conversation concerning the overall effort and the initial time that we met with you and got the feelings before we even signed a contract is that sometimes it takes a little while to get into the actual meat of the program, and the introductory part, of course, you've shown us that you've done your work to introduce the community to retailers around the nation, and the going forward, I guess, would be, if we continue in the contract, would be where we would hope the fruits of the labors are really shown more to us. I noticed in the letter, it says the revenues from the new business that will be coming is around $51,000 per year. So that in itself is a blessing to the city to see those new tax revenues, and we'll be proud of those dollars that are coming in.
Sure. Well, I'll even respond to that, Mayor. I think we have a lot of work left to do. We have a lot of coals in the fire, but the fruits of the labor are already here. We initiated contact with that retailer on September 7th last year, shortly after we were hired here, and discussed this market, which at that time, they were not looking at this market. And obviously, they're building a store here, which will generate about $50,000 a year for the city. So from an ROI standpoint on what the city's putting into us and what's going to be returned, the city is going to receive $50,000 a year in tax revenue from that one deal. And I think I've told you, Mayor, we're very happy about that. Very rarely it happens that quickly. That's part of the reason we asked for 3 years, because it is a long, drawn-out process that I wish was much quicker, because it would make my life a lot easier, my job a lot easier. But it is what it is, and that is the business, and there's a lot of organizations, people, and processes involved, so that's why we ask for 3 years for all of our clients. We rarely expect success in the first year. We got it here in Hamilton. We're very proud of that. But there's a lot left to do. We want to continue our work, continue recruiting the retailers that we're currently engaged with about this market. We don't want to walk away from all that work, because there is much left to do here.
Mr. Jolly, do you have any thoughts about a community like Hamilton as far as, do you think we fit your company's performance or your expectations of us?
Absolutely, Mayor. Without boring you too much about our history, we started our company in Alabama, leveraging our real estate experience and bringing it to the communities in Alabama primarily, and really never saw our company growing outside of the Deep South. And so, Alabama is made up, north and south and east and west, of markets this size, and that's really where we cut our teeth. And in our office, we're all the most passionate about the communities that are growing. And to kind of piggyback on what Scott said about the 3 years, this is my 25th year in the retail real estate business. And from day one, when we started this company, we were very philosophical about the 3-year contracts, because I knew from my own experience working with retailers like Starbucks and Verizon Wireless and McDonald's, and these have all been past clients of mine. From the time you have a handshake between property owner and retailer to the time you have a groundbreaking, that rarely happens in 1 year, and sometimes it drags out into 2 and 3 years. And so I knew if we were being evaluated by our municipal partners in a 1-year agreement, we would be deemed to fail every time, because our business just does not operate that way. But we're very proud that we are partners with 140 plus cities across the country now, which is not something that I saw happening. I don't think we're in 30 states. And just about every one of our agreements are 3+, now getting into 4 and 5 year partnerships, because they are seeing the fruits of what we started to plant in the very early parts of our partnership. And Scott was reviewing with me some of the active conversations that he's having with retailers coming up here. And candidly, they'll tell you how important it is. I mean, how long do I want to be partners with cities?
Forever.
I mean, I don't want it to be 3 years. I know we can't ask for more than that, but I want it to be 10+ years. And I do know that ultimately we're going to be measured by recruitment success, not how much you like us or any of that. But it would be really upsetting to all of us to walk away from the efforts that we have, or the balls that we have in the air on behalf of the community. So we're excited about Jack's, but we do believe that's just tip of the iceberg for what can come here.
One of the things that Scott and I have talked about, and some of his workers that work on the team, is the availability of empty buildings in Hamilton. Do you think that would hamper us in our effort? Do you think we can solve that issue?
When we come and do our boots on the ground assessment, which I think we've been up here 5 or 6 times in this year, which is unusual. We usually don't make that many trips to market, don't need to, but because it is so convenient, which is another benefit to Hamilton relative to where our corporate offices are. But the first thing we catalog is available existing real estate. That to us is the low-hanging fruit. And I know we have a 14,000 square foot box next to Aaron's that we have continued to work on, and we have an active prospect for that that's looking for a space a little bit larger, and that's the kind of puzzle that we like to try to solve for the community. So really the the best asset for us. I mean, I know that the city doesn't, and typically the city doesn't like to have vacancy in the market, but the best asset for our efforts is well-located existing vacancy. And I hate to say it, I mean, I'm a broker, you know, we also have a brokerage company, and I know by and large, my industry, I hate to say it, is pretty lazy. And that's one value that we bring to municipalities is we act as your real estate agent. And we're doing things for that vacant space that the real estate agent that has it listed, I can promise you, is not doing. It's kind of the niche that we've created. We're doing his job, but we're doing it as the city's partner, not as the landlord's partner, but it's the same discussion. And we have developed quite a good rapport and credibility with all the brokers. In fact, SRS, the guy that's leasing that space, used to work for us. So, I mean, we know them very well, and they know the value that we bring to the table on behalf of our community.
We certainly appreciate you men's time and are willing to give you additional minutes if you need them for your presentation. We're going to go back and vote on this in turn, that it's on, we wanted to get you guys on the floor so you could address us before.
Sure.
Since you had travel plans that you have to keep, Mr. Johnny, we didn't want to hold you in Hamilton too long.
No.
We do appreciate you taking time
Delighted for
from
you.
your schedule to come. Any questions?
Yeah, I got one. Who made the deal with Jax about the tax abatement?
Well, Jax came to us about February of this year and requested incentives to the city. That request was to the city, not to us. They felt that there was an economic gap in their deal, which we vetted out through their pro forma. But that was an ask to the city. That is not in any way, shape, or form related to us. Our job is to protect the city as their partner, to vet out that pro forma and to listen to the incentive request to make sure it makes economic sense. And so we were essentially, in this case, a messenger to the council. We were saying, look, Jax is telling us they need this. Here are a few scenarios in which you could get there. And that's our only role within their incentive agreement.
And I'll speak to that again, not a little bit on the full. We get involved whether we like to or not, especially in Alabama, but more and more across the country in these incentive requests. And we are the city's advocate. We're not the retailer or the developer's advocate. And I'm very philosophical about what we call demonstration of need. We make the developer show us, in essence, why this deal will not happen if they don't get help from some public entity, typically the city, but sometimes there's districts and other things set up. And that was the case here. I mean, they showed us their pro forma and said this deal is this far off from working, and essentially we're not coming if we don't get it. Now, one reason that we're so committed to being able to vet and analyze that need and then present to the city basically what the retailer is asking, is we know if we go forward and present a incentive request and it gets turned down and the retailer comes anyway, which is the case here, and I'm having it happen right now in Athens, Alabama as well, then it's egg on our face, and we're your advocate. We're not the retailer's advocate. So, all we can go by is what the developer and the retailer is telling us. And in this case, we're glad the city said no, and the deal's happening anyway. It's better for everyone. Everybody wins. And I assume that's kind of what was behind your.
Well, I know the landowners. I go to church with them, and I knew all the deal about the land. I knew the deal was signed, the papers were signed. That's the reason I postponed it with Jax. They was throwing it at the wall so it would stick. And that's what I can't understand, how this tax abatement come up at all, because the next day they was gonna break ground.
Yeah, I think at that time they had the property under contract. They hadn't closed on the property.
Oh, the papers were signed. Everything was signed.
Right, but they didn't close on the property, so it's still in its due diligence period, as I understand it. They came to us in February. I think they closed on the property just a couple of weeks ago. Is that right? Yeah. So most of those discussions and the meeting we had at the work council, that was all prior to them closing on the property.
Okay, any other questions? We appreciate you gentlemen being here tonight. Thank you very much.
I would like to ask you though, do y'all have anything in mind now, something else that's interested in coming to Hamilton?
Yes.
And,
We have several retailers that,
But don't, my personal opinion, nothing to do with the rest of it, don't bring us something like Jack's again, where we have McDonald's, and Burger King, and all these here, and they came here and they just finished, the bad thing was they just finished spending thousands of dollars reworking that place. I know that McDonald's spent about $600,000, Burger King, I mean, just
Sure,
the last
yeah.
month, you know, and expecting us then in the McDonald's gives thousands of dollars to every club and the football team, baseball teams, and I don't know how much he's invested there.
Sure.
And to me, it'd be pretty bad for us to buy somebody to go into business against them this many. And it'd be different if we didn't have any place.
sure.
But we've got a lot of them anyway, as you know. And I don't think it'd be right, like I say, bring something that would go in competition with 4 or 5 businesses we've already gotten here.
Yeah, and anytime we're told that on the front end, I mean, you're our boss. You tell us who we should and should not go after. We had not been informed that we shouldn't go after.
Well, you should go out if they want to come. Yes, we want them.
Sure.
But you know, I had 4 restaurants here myself at one time, and I'd sure enough been mad. And every time one would come in against me, it scared me to death.
Sure.
Because I said, well, I don't know whether I can make my payments or not.
I'm glad you clarified that you just brought the message of their need, that you weren't an advocate for them, and that helps my mind to understand that you were only delivering their message.
Absolutely, and we're clearly here as the city's advocate, and you know, a lot of what we do on the front end is identify the retailers that are expanding. There's only so many stores that are growing. We get hit up with, what about a Ruby Tuesday? What about a Red Lobster? People don't even realize these brands haven't opened a store in 6 years. So we've got to focus on the guys that are active and that are opening stores. And we're talking to a national furniture chain, a national group that wants to be here. We're talking to a national sandwich store that has indicated they want to be here, which has interest potentially on the interstate. And you know, as far as I know, I don't know if there's direct competition with some of those categories, but there is a limited number of national tenants that are currently growing, and in addition coming to markets the size of Hamilton. So we have a small scope to work with, and our job is to identify those guys, of which we have relationships with most of them, and put this market on their radar, drill down to a site that fits their criteria, and try to mitigate any risk that they perceive about opening a store here, because at the end of the day, they're trying to maximize their sales revenue for that brand, and we're trying to sell this community so they can do that.
One of the real pluses in our affiliation with Retail Strategies is that you know the brand name people on a first name basis that develop these areas like Hamilton, and they already have a captive audience that love their product and buy their product. And that's how many times I think you could help us as a very small community.
And sometimes, to your point, competition can be a good thing. I'm not saying that they're investing back in their stores to raise their game to compete, but there could be. That's why McDonald's and some of the other restaurants are investing back in their stores. And this won't prove out for another year, but I will guarantee their sales don't take a dip when Jack's opens. I bet you the high tide will raise all the boats. It's typically the case. But we hear you loud and clear. We want to be sensitive to the retailers that have been established here and working really hard to maintain a business here, to not bring unnecessary competition. But I think in this case, it might actually be a good thing.
Well, we're glad to have them, don't get me wrong, but we didn't need to put them in and put competition against people who've been here for years and years before. So I think our little town is getting large enough now that people are going to want to come without being given incentives. And the people we're looking for now is right now, really pushing for, I think all of us them are out on the interstate. And maybe whatever out there, we don't mind sometimes giving incentives out there because that's business that we're not getting down there. And we're looking at that. You think, we got 4 exits. That's as many exits as anybody's got between Birmingham and Memphis. And we don't have a thing out there. We didn't have it. Going to have, I think.
Sure.
2 truck stops coming out, I think. Or we hope to have. We're pretty sure.
We're very excited about that, 'cause that is ammunition for us.
Yeah.
To go out and get some other guys out there with us.
I know down in Jasper, you see what happened down there. I thought it was kind of crazy. They went out there and nothing out there and built that out there, and all of a sudden, look what's down there now in the last 5 years.
2 more. We worked with the city of Jasper for 6 years.
Yeah, they didn't have anything.
Right.
It's like us. They were kind of like us, only they were larger.
Well, when we first went to work for them, that's what they really wanted to do, was we've been working on a Cracker Barrel deal in Jasper for I don't even know how long.
Could you give this council a little update on the things that y'all have helped to locate in Jasper? That's our neighboring town.
Sure.
It's already there.
Yeah, Jasper hired us, like I said, many years ago. We helped, first off, Robert was very involved in redeveloping an existing shopping center that was vacant and essentially an eyesore to their main corridor, Highway 78. We were able to bring in TJ Maxx, Shoe Carnival, Hobby Lobby, I'm missing someone, Shoe Carnival, Hobby, and Petco. There's Zaxby's out on the interstate that we helped bring in. Cracker Barrel, as Robert had mentioned, we've got notes right here on conversations we've had with those guys about this market right here. We brought a regional seafood and steakhouse called Salty's. We brought in Aldi and Harbor Freight Tools.
Ezels, which that didn't last.
Ezels was another.
Can't make them stay in business.
We brought in a mattress firm. We've had a lot of success in that market. And the city, we didn't have it in our first year.
What's the population of Jasper?
Low teens, I want to say maybe 13, 14,000.
With a pretty broad.
Large trade area,
Rural
but
trade area.
city limits, it's somewhere around low teens, yes, sir. So as Robert mentioned, we are in this for the long haul.
How
That's
many
why
years y'all been working for the city of Jasper?
6 years.
6 years.
Yes, sir. Most of our partnerships in Alabama, I would say, majority of them now are well beyond 3 years.
Y'all work with New Albany, Mississippi?
We're on our 5th year with New Albany, Mississippi.
Aren't they growing also?
The population's not growing all that much. We've still been able to be very successful. We recruited Cracker Barrel to New Albany. We recruited Zaxby's to New Albany. We recruited Popeyes to New Albany. We expanded a shoe store by working with that landlord, adding another 4,500 square feet. We helped facilitate a regional grocery store called Reach Grocery to that market.
Now, all of that has been moved out to the interstate, right?
No, sir.
Is
The
that
grocery
not yours?
stores.
With
The
that-
Zaxby's is out there, the
Yeah.
Cracker Barrel's
That's
out
right.
there, the
There's a
shoe
lot
store,
there.
we did Little Caesars out there as well.
Yeah.
The grocery stores in town, we also did a regional burger chain called Bim Bam Burgers. And that was to the interior, more of the downtown area.
I knew the interstate out there really growing. didn't
When
it?
it's restaurants, you're talking about Cracker Barrel. What's the population got to be before they come to a town?
It's really more about the traffic on the interstate and the distance between their closest store. So it's really,
What's the odds of Hampton being
Well, we met with them in Las Vegas. We've already established rapport and conversations about this market. Considering we're in between New Albany and Jasper, that is probably our biggest battle. We have,
Between Tupelo and Jackson.
well, Tupelo's is on the north side of town, so it's not on the same corridor. So that exact same thing happened to us when we were working in New Albany. They said, well, Scott, we got a store in Tupelo. What's that, 15 miles down the road? So yeah, it's on a totally different corridor.
Yeah.
So you've got a different audience.
Yeah, it's hard to find, but it's not far off
Right.
the interstate. It's just a rock road down there. But still, it's not, it'd be hard to find if you're running down the interstate.
And they bought that dirt in 2014, and and they didn't build the store until a year and a half
like
ago.
Jasper, I think longer than that.
Yeah. So, the length of that deal, we recruited them to town, we showed the site to Cracker Barrel, we introduced Cracker Barrel to the property owner and allowed them to negotiate their price. They purchased the land and sat on it for 2 years, and then they built the store. So, you better believe we were getting some questions from the aldermen on where's our Cracker Barrel, where's our Cracker Barrel, and at that point, there's only so many factors that we can control. Our job is to reach out to tenants that are expanding and active and put Hamilton on their radar, where they otherwise, would not be.
And if they're looking at another exit that might not be in Hamilton, as your voice, we're trying to move them to, obviously to these
So
cities.
you all introduce the businesses to the people that actually own the land?
Yes.
So the landowners, y'all get these connected together,
Yes.
and that's how you work?
Yes.
Well, that ain't what happened with Jack's. The retail man from Jack's contacted the landowner,
Because-
and they done all the business themselves.
I can show
That's
you
the problem I got right there.
Nope. I can show you the email. We sent Gerald Logan's phone number directly to Will Aiken and his team, and then Will called him. So that's,
Will is not with Jack's, he's their real estate
You
agent.
know, the real estate.
We gave him the number. I mean, he would,
I've got that email printed off. I took it with me tonight. That was on September no, that was later in the year. I've got it with me, and I have no problem pulling it out right now. But a lot of times that's what we do. We come and analyze the real estate. We identify who owns the property, how big they are. We try to collect surveys, what are the asking prices, and then we just keep that in our files. So when someone like Ruby Tuesdays or Jack's or whomever it may be, we're able to sell them this market, they're going to say, Scott, I need an acre. I'm not going to pay more than X. I need X amount of frontage. I need X amount of cars in front of my site. What's in Hamilton? And we share all the options that fit what they're looking for. And then essentially they'll narrow that list down and say, I like these 2 sites. Tell me who owns them. And we're just giving the owner's contact information to them for them to call. And that's exactly what happened here.
Well, do y'all have anything in mind for interstate?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Because we have 2 stations going out there,
Yes, sir.
and it shouldn't be hard to get other tenants after you get something like that, 2 nice truck stops out there.
Yeah, that's going to be some of our ammo. A lot of Jack's, for instance, we showed them sign on the interstate first because we knew that was important to the city. So we shared 3 or 4 sites off I-22 to Jack's specifically. Our sell was the interstate early on. We tried to so they came up here and they felt that they could maximize their sales by coming into town closer to the rooftops, closer to the other existing businesses. That's where they wanted to be. We can't control that. We're just exposing the community to them. So
We don't care where they go, just so they go.
yeah, absolutely. But
probably better for, the cars are gonna come off the interstate to that Jack's, and then they're in town.
I don't want to see them come off that interstate to Jackson, it's a long way.
Good business.
okay, here is. I'm gonna read this out loud, I guess. Here's an email dated. This is actually in January, January 4th. Back in the fall, they were looking at the interstate. January, they decided that they wanted to come into town, and they told us where they wanted to be. And
Are you speaking of Jackson now?
yes, sir. I'm just responding to
Yeah.
the question. Here's
I think there's.
our email. Here's
Going.
that email in January. You can see Jim Sibley's information. That's his site. If you go to the second page, I gave them Gerald Logan's phone number and name and identified his site right there. So at that time, we gave them 2 options. They told us they wanted to be in that area. And we're not pushing one side over the other. We're pushing the community. And when we find out where they want to be, we just share the contact information because we're not involved in the negotiation of the price or anything of that matter. Our job is presenting and marketing this community to retailers that are active and expanding, and we allow those property owners and those retailers to negotiate their terms. We have no involvement in that.
All right. Any other questions? Gentlemen, we appreciate the presentation and your efforts to show us your work for us tonight, and we hope you have a safe journey back to Birmingham. We'll let you know tomorrow. We're going to take you up on item 11 on the agenda tonight for a vote.
Thank you all.
All right. Okay, item 4 on the agenda tonight is the announcement of hiring Brett Hockham as our new full-time sanitation worker for the Hamilton Street Department. I did get that name correct?
You did, yes, sir.
Okay. And he had worked.
He was part-time employee last summer.
Did a good job.
Excellent, yes. All right.
Brett Hockham, he'll be our new full-time street department hand. And I'd like to recommend that we pay Brett Hockham entry pay of $15.40 per hour for this position of sanitation worker. We need a motion for that.
I'll make that motion.
Jim made a motion, we need a second. Okay, Herb second, all in favor? Okay. So item 6, we'd like to announce our new receptionist as being Jenny Ann Palmer. We had 8 interviews for this job. She had an excellent interview. Our panel of 4 who were involved in the interviews had a unanimous decision on this one. So she'll be our new receptionist, replacing Sheila Perdina at that job. And I'd like to recommend her pay to start out at $12.40 per hour for her position as receptionist. Need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Kenneth made the motion, we need a second. Gene made the second, all in favor? None opposed, thank you. Tonight, we'd like to recommend that we post for hiring a trainee for the Hamilton Water Department for wastewater trainee. And we'd like to, of course, open this up at the same time for any transferees within our own ranks, and we'll, of course, post this job opening in the paper also. Would be the motion for that.
I'll make a motion.
Tammy made the motion, we need a second.
I'll second.
Gene made a second, all in favor? I believe we've had an announcement that one of our employees at wastewater will be retiring, is that correct?
Yes.
And if we hire a trainee, they have to serve an apprenticeship of how many weeks?
It's 1,900 hours.
1,900 hours, that's most of the year.
47.
So we've got to get prepared for this one. We'll be posting that job. We need to make a recommendation to pay FBAC LLC. This is $4,000 to perform the city's actuary calculations for the Gatsby Statement 75. This is the Government Accounting Standards Board that we have to have an audit from them concerning our post-employee benefits. And this is a mandatory thing, but we've got to pay them $4,000, so we need to put this on the minutes in a motion and second and approval.
So we have to do this.
We've got to do it.
I'll make a motion.
And this is for 2018 and 2019, right?
This is for 2 years, yeah, 2018 and 19. We need a second.
My second.
Kenneth made second, all in favor? Thank you. Item 10 is a recommendation to approve opening a new checking account at First National Bank for the Rexdale Housing Authority CDBG grant project for the street water and sewer improvements. We'll need to have a tracking account for that. Of course, the account will wash out once the project closes out. Is that correct, Angela? This is so we can pay the bills that go with the block grant. We file for reimbursements on these when we pay our bills. Is that the way you do that?
On some of these, I get reimbursed like from the housing authority for their portion of it. But the city has obligated to pay in a portion of it, and
We
won't get
20% on that, or
we will get some reimbursement, but we will have to pay some.
yeah, we've actually approved the project earlier. This is just an account to track it. So Angela needs a motion from the council to allow her to open that account.
He made a motion, I second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Abstain.
Okay. I'll abstain also. Since I serve on the board of the bank, I'm not voting on this matter. Okay, we're down to item 11. We have heard from the project directors, Scott Buchanan, his projections for us tonight, and the things he thinks they might could do. Mr. Jolly, the CEO, of course, was here on their behalf, and we've got this contract that has come to you, and we need to vote tonight as to whether we stay in business with the retail strategies folks, or if we do not renew the contract. So this time, I'm going to recommend that we bring this to a vote. I'll need a motion and a second.
I'd like to put this off. We got one missing tonight. I really need to, I'd like to think about it a little more, just to the next meeting anyway. I don't know how the others feel like, anybody feels like we'll vote on it.
We'll accept your motion and put it to a vote.
Okay, yeah, okay.
You want to make a motion
Yes.
to table it
To
tonight?
table it tonight.
We have a second.
I'm sorry.
We have a motion and a second to table the vote on retail strategies till the following meetings.
Yeah, yeah.
You want to come back up to following?
Is that all right with you, or the following night? Yeah, okay.
Okay. All right, we'll ask for the vote on that. Those in favor of postponement, okay. We'll table that matter. Okay. Other items of business tonight. Chief, did you have something you need us to take up to you?
Yes, sir. I'd like to ask the mayor and council for permission to post a police officer job open for an APO certified officer. As I've been in discussions with you guys in the past, workshops and stuff, I had anticipated 2 leaving, only 1 had left at that time, but since our last meeting, I've had a resignation turned in, and he's went on to another job, so we need to post that at least for another month.
Okay, we didn't get that on the agenda tonight, but it is a matter of urgent business. I'd like to bring that to a vote tonight. If we could get a motion and a second to post an officer's job.
I'll make that motion.
Chief made the motion. Second. All in favor of posting for that?
Thank you.
You want a certified officer, is that what you're?
Yes, sir. We're gonna run that gauntlet again.
Okay. And you weren't able to carry anything forward?
No, sir.
Last week, okay. Well, we'll put it back in the paper and advertise. What's going on with officers? There's such a shortage.
It's not just us, it's statewide, it's nationwide. Well, I mean, right now, Halo, if I'm not mistaken, it's like 4 to 6 down. I noticed a little while ago where Bear Creek's probably fixing to be without one. I think their chief has resigned to take another job. Winfield's a couple down, Ewan is a couple down, and it's not just us, it's Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Jefferson County. Sheriff's Department's still down. So.
Okay, thank you, Ronnie. Rodney, I'm gonna ask you to come to the podium and take our PA system and explain to our public, what happened to us, over the weekend, and give us some reassurance that maybe we have everything under control in our water system.
Oh, to not bore you too long, we had about 3 or 4 different things go down at our water plant all at one time on Friday night. And that forced us not to be able to pump out to the system. We started on Friday night about 8 o'clock pumping to waste. That's pumping the water out of the plant, not out in the system, but out. And we pumped waste over 20 hours. It was Saturday evening, about 6 o'clock Saturday evening, we started pumping back to the system. Like I said, we had multiple things to go down at one time that we weren't, you can't really prepare for. We had only, at the time when all this stuff happened, we had one of our basins down because we were getting the new track back system installed. And about the time everything else happened, they were finished with the track back system. We were ready to fill that basin back up with water, and we started filling that basin back up with water. But everything else happened, and we started pumping the waste, and we ended up getting that other basin filled back up and get it opened up so we could use it also. And that helped us as far as all the other problems we had. But, and make a long story short, we got pumping back out at about, 6 o'clock Saturday evening. All of our tanks had gotten low. Under normal operation, our tanks get about half full or half empty, and the pumps kick on and fill them back up. But because we couldn't pump out to the system, we couldn't have the pumps running, so all the tanks got low, and that created the problems that we had in the system. I did call Mr. William McClemmons at 8 a.m. this morning, explained to him everything that happened and what we did, and he told me, based on everything I just told him, that we did everything right. We didn't put any bad water out in the system, and we're not going to. We don't want any violations or fines or anything. And plus, we want to protect the citizens of Hamilton. I mean, we're not going to put bad water out in the system. So that's basically it in a nutshell.
Thank you, Ronnie. We didn't make a public announcement as to how low our tanks were. We were afraid everybody to fill up their bathtub and run 12 vessels of water and finish using up what little we had left. So we were real low of water, but we weren't ready to push the panic button. I was in touch with Rodney several times, and he was assuring me that they were past the curve and they were gaining ground on the problem. So we didn't send out a public message to our patrons to let them know how low of water we were, but we were very low of water. And we've regained that now, and our system's back up, fully operational. About 8 years ago, the vacuum systems went out on our treatments plant. We've got one put in earlier this year, and we had half the system pulled down for that other maintenance, and we've had to change our chemical process of purifying our water. We had to get rid of the old lime system because we couldn't buy good lime. The company that we bought our good lime water treatment went out of business, we were getting inferior products from other companies we tried to buy from. So Rodney has changed our purification system and got approval for the new system we're using. But we have to calibrate that, and we're having to learn a few things as we go. And we had a sudden rush of mud that came down the river, and we had not treated muddy water prior, and some of that he was talking about was a problematic thing. And while we were learning this, we were on the phone with the reps and learning all the things we had to do to keep our water safe for our citizens to use. So good job, Rodney. And we could have had a panic here for a few hours, but thanks to y'all's hard work, you pulled it out for us. And we don't anticipate this being a problem going forward. The old Buddy Hatchie is faithful to us and gives us lots of water every day. We purify about 2 million gallons of water every day, and that's our capability. And keep using our water. It's good water, and we want the public to know that we're not putting out inferior products. We withheld the water a few hours to where we could get it in shape for your use, but our water's still good and our water system's still good. It's not worn out, and we've been doing some maintenance to make sure that it stays operational. And just wanted to make a public announcement tonight. We weren't ready to push the panic button. If the public needs to know something, believe me, I'll get out there and tell you. I won't keep a secret from the public of something that you really need to know. But I had Rodney's assurance that they had passed the period that we were going through, and he was gaining ground, so we didn't go out and make a public announcement about this. But I feel real good about our guys staying faithful to their effort and pull us through this little process we had. And I appreciate y'all very much. Any other business that have come before our council tonight? Scott, do you have anything for us tonight? Okay. All right, we'll need a motion then to adjourn the meeting.
Make a motion.
Tammy made a motion.
I'm second.
Gene second. All in favor? Thank you.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/49 County News TV.